Welcome back. I am having a beautiful and hopefully educational and informational conversation with Pops here for you. Before we went to commercial, we had a very good conversation, but now I just want to focus on your work with Phelps Stokes and the Program for Africa and Freedom Endowment. Just that title alone says a lot. So just give us a little bit about that and the mission behind it.
The mission of the PAF, which is the Program for Africa and Freedom Endowment, which is very close to my name, PAF,
yes,
is pretty much to identify, invest, and transform underserved communities around the world, but focusing on Africans and Africans in the diaspora. So when we say identify, invest, and transform, meaning at PAF, we believe that all the work we're doing here at Phelps Stokes and other organizations are doing, Africans are already doing it and doing it better. So why do we need to reinvent the wheel when we already have those people doing it? So then we said we need to identify those people. Who are those Africans doing wonderful work? And they're all over the world. So our first strategy is to identify people like you and like other people who are exactly empowering people, building communities, building capacity, developing leadership. And second, invest in them. How do we invest in them? We try to connect them with people who have the resources, people who have the expertise, people who have the knowledge and the skills, so they can do what they're doing better. And transform underserved communities. Once you have somebody who knows how to do it, once you have the resources, once you have the support, I think you'll be able to transform the local communities. So that's what we say. We're working with underserved communities to achieve the change they seek for themselves, not the change we seek for ourselves.
Absolutely.
So that's the mission of PAF. And through that, PAF has been able to identify 30 global ambassadors here in the US and over 80 global ambassadors in Africa. And when we say global ambassador, that's those kind of people who are exactly doing the work. And also, we're doing work in France and in Canada through PAF, because we have a lot of Africans in Europe.
Exactly.
So, France is just the headquarters for Europe, but we're doing work also in other Western Europe and Eastern Europe countries. And what we're doing is focus on what we call 5 program areas. The first one is what we call educational leadership or leadership development. The second one is education for human development. The third one is what we call IT and training. The third one is called service learning. And the fifth one is social mobilization. So those are the 5 program areas. Why those 5 program areas is we believe that most people talk about good governance or economic growth. Which one should come first? I think that's the main question that now around the world everybody is discussing. They say, oh, should we have first a strong economy, or should we have good governance? We at PAF, we believe that good governance first, because if you have all the resources or a very good economy and you don't have good leaders to manage that, everything will fail. So it becomes an ethical issue, ethical values. And that's the same thing with the final crisis, the Wall Street. We say that people say it's a financial crisis. We said it's an ethical crisis. Because if people didn't take what wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
The second one is education. You asked me earlier a question about formal or informal education. Education could be anything at Phelps Stokes. We believe it could be at your home, your house, in the street, or at school. So anything related to those 3 learning environment, Phelps Stokes is okay with that. And training, people always have to refresh and refine their skills. And service learning, I think we have to be able to provide services to our community in order to expect the same thing.
Absolutely.
And social mobilization, if we have one issue that is for the community, we should not say it's just for PAPSAM. We should mobilize everybody. Because whatever the outcome, positive or negative, will impact everybody. So we want people to work together. So that's pretty much what PAF is doing in Africa and here.
And that is amazing. Not only are you concentrating on the continent, but you're concentrating on the Africans in the diaspora in the various different continents outside of Africa. And so how do you go about, identifying the global ambassadors? So what does one has to have besides just naturally having the passion to, just better their community?
Yeah. First, it has to be somebody who has an existing idea or program, because we believe that we don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
So somebody has it then. So somebody who has an idea or a program, somebody who has the ethical values of sharing, of learning from each other, and accepting that he or she is not perfect. That's the third, somebody who has a global mind. Not only a nationalistic, somebody who just believe I'm going to do it just for my community, or I'm just going to do it for my country, because we want people to come together. So those are pretty much the three things. The rest, we think that's something that can come after. But our main problem is identifying those global ambassadors, because you might see somebody who is doing a wonderful job, or somebody here that she or he is doing a wonderful job, but you don't know if she or he is doing it as a business.
Absolutely.
So we always try not to open up an ad or ask people to come join.
Right.
We always try to go through referral and recommendation.
Okay. And how old is the PAFE program? Is it something that Phelps Stokes always had and has been working on, or is it something that has been created since you came on board?
It's less than a year, the PAF.
Okay.
Because as the first African here, so I created PAFE.
Okay.
And what happened was, after being here for a few years, I wanted to just go back. So people who know me, people that I worked with, said, no, we're not going to let you go back. And so they called me and asked me, like the president of the previous organization was friend, or still friend, with the president of Phelps Stokes.
Okay.
And she told the president of Phelps Stokes body that this guy, I don't think you should let him go. I think you should talk to him. So they called me and talked to me. We had like 3 meetings of 4 hours.
Wow.
And they wanted me to just do something. They didn't know exactly, but they asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I just wanted to go and start a new organization because I really don't like how we do things here. And they said, we're going to give you the platform to do it. You do it your own way. And I said, you're really going to give me the flexibility to do it my own way? And they said yes. So I joined and started the path.
That's amazing, because I don't know, how many people in your position would have said, you know what, I'm going to take that risk and prioritize my continent, prioritize my country, and make sure my people are going to be successful at whatever, will that they're spending for themselves. Did you feel overwhelmed in creating this program for Phelps Stokes? I'm sure they've been doing so many different type of programs on the continent of Africa, but coming and just streamlining it and focusing it and saying, I'm going to identify, Africans in the diaspora and connect them to Africans on the continent to make the change that they seek. Was it an overwhelming?
Yes, at the beginning was overwhelming for 2 reasons. One, because I was doing it in a Western country where capitalism, life or ideas is way beyond everything.
Right,
so it's all about money and time.
Exactly.
And I was doing it in a way that I wanted people to work as volunteers. And I was doing it in a way that I want people to just to give back.
Right.
Was a big challenge.
Yeah.
The second challenge was that I was using somebody's platform, and I don't know, or I didn't know how much time they will give me and how flexible they will be. So that was a risk. And at the beginning, I was planning just to take 5 countries a year. And I don't know what happened. Over 2 years right now, we're almost in 80-something countries. And even PAF becomes global by running global activities. So it was overwhelming, but I think just because of the approach was right, identifying those global ambassadors was able to just make the path grow so fast that now it becomes a big thing.
And that's amazing. When something is supposed to happen, it just takes a life of its own. And now that it has, stretched across boundaries. I think this is something that Africa did need, whether it was started by an African or a non-African, but being pushed by an African. But it just makes it more, resonating for individuals like myself and anybody that hails from Africa, that, I have an African pushing my cause for me and not necessarily telling me, this is what we want to do and you're going to do it. And I mean, between me and you, we probably come across so many different people that are just passionate but did not have the avenue. And you're creating that avenue, and you're, focusing on the young and the most powerful individuals in the community, which are the women. And so what are the success stories of, Program for Africa?
I think I can give you a few, maybe 2 or 3 that I will try to give you. I don't know if that's what I will define success, but I think the right people who can define success of PAF are the people we're working with, like the global ambassador, the youth, the women. But there was things that really kind of stick to me, and I can highlight a few of those. One was somebody, a global ambassador here from Zimbabwe, was here in the U.S., and I was able to take him to Africa once, to South Africa, and he met with a young global ambassador also in South Africa. So the guy wanted to start a farm. The global ambassador in South Africa had all the connections and the resources, but he didn't have the land. And the global ambassador here, who's based here from Zimbabwe, his family has a lot of land.
Wow.
So they were able to connect. And now they're starting 2 farms, one in South Africa, one in Zimbabwe, where they're going to employ 48 people. Wow. And they got already started, and we're working with them to find funding. Another one is a young girl from Egypt and a young man from Benin. The young man in Benin started a pineapple farm with 10,000 CFA in Western Africa money, which is $20. And when we took the guy to a conference, he met with the young girl from Egypt. The young girl from Egypt was saying, in Egypt, where I live, we want pineapples, but we cannot find it, and we love it so much. The guy said, that's what I do.
Wow.
So how can we partner? And the guy, okay, let's exchange and see what can we do. So 2 months later, the guy was able to start a pineapple factory, producing juice and sending them to Egypt. And the lady was able to hire 5 people to work for her to sell the product.
Wow.
So that's another one. And the third and the last one that I can tell you is a young man from Colombia. He's somebody who makes, how do you call it, marimba. I don't know if you know marimba. It's in West Africa, it's called balafon. It's a West African musical instrument that you play with your hands. It's handmade with wood. Okay. And the young boy in Colombia has the same thing, but it's higher, because in West Africa it's a low thing. But in West Africa, now it's programmed in piano, and they call it marimba. So it's the same instrument. So I went to Colombia and found out this. And the young man was 18. He makes the marimba, he plays it, and he has his own group. So when I met him, I said, wow, this is marimba. He said, yes. So I took the pictures and all those things and sent it to West Africa to some musical band. And they said, Pap, this is exactly what we needed. We were not able to find the traditional instrument. Wow. So the guy now is sending it to West Africa. Now he has his own business sending those and making it and teaching people to play. And recently when we were going to, in October actually, we took him, he played for the president of Benin. Wow. So those are 3 kids.
No, those are powerful 3 stories to tell and, to share with the world. And there will be many more to come, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.